decided to put some media, like we're not referring to it, it's just continuing on. And
So who's the one for
I think it's
abortion?
going. We are affirmative.
Well, wait till Raul's ready. Oh, you were, oh, sorry.
Are you okay? It's me, Daniela.
Josie George.
And we are the affirmative side that the unborn in the first trimester should be afforded constitutional protection of due process. And
We are the opposition side. I'm Sarah. This is Matt.
I'm Matthew Barr. And then our position is that, you know, how our opponents are stating that the baby gets their rights through the due process of law. And then our position is that the mother has rights as true as the baby. But under national law in place by the 14th Amendment, it forbids the states from denying any person life, liberty, or property without due process of law, or deny any person within its jurisdiction equal protection of laws.
Are you still introducing your topic?
Yeah.
It's just a
Okay.
It's just
statement.
All right.
And then abortion does not take away from these rights for the fact that the unborn or fetus does not apply to these rights.
so
Our arguments are outlined in the paper that we handed out. There's some more that we forgot to put on there, but it's also the case Roe versus Wade, where it was made, the decision was made that a mother has a right to an abortion during the first trimester, and statistics about teen abortion and women that are of a young age.
Okay, so just a second. Getting my notes here. Okay, so I will start off by saying, okay, if it's illegal to kill a 2-year-old, then why isn't it illegal to kill the unborn if they both have life? And I would also like to say, unlike sperm or egg or cancer cells, the unborn are complete organisms that are capable of growing and developing into an adult unless they are killed by someone or something before that time. The very words embryo and fetus can only be defined as the stages of development in a human being. Therefore, the unborn are human beings. And if the Constitution grants equal and unalienable rights to all human beings, then that must include the unborn. I understand that women have a right to use their body, but no one has the right to use their body to hurt another innocent body.
So in the case Roe versus Wade, it was decided that a woman is entitled to having an abortion in the first trimester. But do any of you guys know what that decision was based on, or why that was decided? So, does anybody know why that was decided or what that decision was based on? Because nowhere in the Constitution does it actually state that a woman can have an abortion. It's not openly stated. It was just based on the idea that people are able to refuse search of their home and private property by the police. That's what it was based on, because it's known as a private decision. So like if you were to say that you're opposed to police going into your house, it's a private decision. But the website Stand for Students for Life states that how can it be seen as a private decision and make it constitutional because it's a private decision that a woman and her doctor makes? Then in that case, like if a robber decided to rob a bank, then that should be the same thing, because it would be a private decision with the robber and the bank who decided to rob it. But yeah, that's illegal. So in that sense, anybody could say that it's a private decision, so it should be not illegal. Do you guys try to get what I'm trying to say? No?
You guys aren't making.
So you're saying that.
Okay, because they said that it's a private decision that a woman makes. But the website Stand for Students for Life stated that if it's a private decision, then that could, and like that's why it's legal, then it could also be like put in a sense into other things. Like I commit a crime, but that could be not illegal because it was a private decision that I made. You get what I mean? Yeah.
And some people can argue that the baby isn't really alive in the first trimester, but the legal definition of unborn life is, quote, a human subject in a state of somatic, organizational, and developmental response with an integrating and organizational principle distinct from and separate from the body of the mother, end quote. And that can be translated to say, like, as soon as the organism becomes a separate and, like, distinct organism from the mother. So basically, as soon as it starts to develop, you can consider it alive.
So, also, like, going back to what Adi was saying, I would like to, like, talk about, for example, drugs. So, if abusing drugs isn't a private decision, then how can abortion be a private decision? So, the Supreme Court has actually, like, they have said that they have never interpreted our rights, like, to use our bodies as absolute. So if we can't use drugs such as cocaine and heroin because they think that's wrong
Or harmful to our bodies.
or harmful to our bodies, then isn't abortion equitable or even worse than using drugs such as cocaine and heroin? And why would they let us commit abortion because of that?
And to build on that, because there are so many risks with abortion, which include like blood clots and allergic reactions and a whole variety of things, and all the way up to even death, could not be considered self-harm. And the government does not allow us to commit self-harm and like has locked people up for committing self-harm. So doesn't that fall under the same category?
They're not doing it to themselves, though.
Abortion is actually an act that can cause you death, injury, infection, and disease. So it is harm to yourself. Once you have an abortion, you are 10 times more likely to commit suicide. Actually, the British Medical Journal Abortion found that abortion is dangerous, and that 34.7% are more likely to commit suicide after having an abortion than 11.3% of women who didn't have an abortion. No, we can't. We have to say that first. Okay, so I would also like to bring up another argument. So the biggest argument that pro-choice people protect abortion is the belief that abortion is their right and their choice. But no one in this world has the right to kill another human being. Every person has the right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Who gave you the right to kill someone else's life just because you can? I can shoot any one of you because I may think you will cause me pain or trouble, or because I may think that you will not succeed in society. But does that give me the right to do so? No. This is not just about removing pregnancy tissue. This is about securing rights for everyone, no matter who they are. Blacks, women, and the unborn. The lives of women and blacks have been taken because they have been considered inferior. The lives of Jews have been killed because they have been considered non-human. Just like the Jews, the lives of the unborn have been taken because they are considered non-human. They're considered unable to live a happy and successful life. They will become criminals. They are not worth living. But who are we to decide that? How can the KKK kill blacks, the Nazis kill Jews, the ISIS kill women and homosexuals, and how can women kill the unborn?
So first off, I would like to start by stating some videos or words that I found from a video about just abortion in general and what goes on. Most things in life aren't simple, and that includes abortion. It's personal, it can be complicated for many people, and it's definitely not a black and white issue. So, why do people try to limit or label abortion as if it's pro-life and pro-choice? The truth is, these labels limit conversation and simply don't reflect how people actually feel about abortion. Majority of Americans believe abortion should remain safe and legal. Many just don't use the words pro-choice. They don't necessarily identify as pro-life either.
Truth is, they just don't want to be labeled. What they want is for a woman to have access to safe and legal abortion if and when she needs it. So, I'm gonna start off.
Yeah. Along with abortion being protected under the 14th Amendment, there was also the legal right to privacy. In 1923, in Mayer v. Nebraska, the court ruled that privacy was a liberty claim. In accordance to bank robber, this ties within the Fourth Amendment, which protects people from unreasonable searches and seizures by the government. The Fourth Amendment, however, is not a guarantee against all searches and seizures, but only those that are deemed unreasonable under law. The right to privacy is not mentioned in the Constitution, but the Supreme Court has said before that it is made up of many different rights. The Fourth Amendment, which is one of them, is the Fourth Amendment, which stops the police and other government, as I've said before, from searching us for our property without probable cause.
And this has to relate to the example that Adi used as the bank robber, making it a private decision.
Other amendments protect our freedom to make certain decisions about our bodies and our private lives without interference of the government. The 14th Amendment, which was passed in 1868, was meant to protect free slaves from persecution and unlawful imprisonment. And to make sure they enjoyed equality under the law, when you read the 14th Amendment, you won't find reference to abortion. What you will find is people can't be denied liberty without due process of law. And that's why court decided that there's a right to abortion. And liberty equals abortion. Well, the court couldn't get there in a single step. They interpreted liberty to include a right to privacy, which is mentioned in the 14th Amendment. And they figured that if you do in fact have the right to privacy, then that must include the right to have an abortion, since it's your body and bearing or not bearing of a child is a very private matter.
Which is also included in abortion within the first and second trimesters. So then we have the Roe versus Wade case. In this case, the court established a right of personal privacy protected by the Due Process Clause that includes the right of women to determine whether or not to bear a child. Under court research, modern prohibitions on abortion lacked historical foundation within the case. And they also concluded that the word person in the Due Process Clause and other provisions of the Constitution did not include the unborn. Therefore, it lacked federal constitutional protection.
All right. Now we're going to talk about state abortion restrictions in the first trimester. All right, mandatory ultrasounds ultrasounds are mandatory before women can even get an abortion. This is burdensome on people who have been accused of rape or incest. Some policies also require physicians to force a woman to view the ultrasound and deliver politically motivated statements to a woman, even if she declines to view or listen to them. There are also mandatory waiting periods of up to 72 hours prior to an abortion. After a woman's initial consultation with her doctor, requirements to attend bias counseling from an unlicensed, unaccredited, and unregulated crisis pregnancy center. And then banning private insurance coverage of abortion, and in turn taking away comprehensive insurance coverage most women currently have. And then there's also onerous and medically unnecessary regulations on abortion providers. For example, requiring the hallways in a health center measure a certain width with the goal of shutting down abortion providers when they are unable to comply.
And this is even because the earlier you decide to get your abortion, so if you decide to get it within the first trimester, so the first 12 weeks, the research has been done and it's been stated that it's safer to get it done the earliest, and it's also more affordable to women, so it makes it more accessible to lower income women, which the statistic is that lower income women happen to get more abortions. So as it is already, the state makes so many laws and so many obstacles in order for those women to be able to have access to those abortions, when in fact it's the safest time to get one.
And then as she said, how low-income women are usually the ones who most likely are the ones to get abortion. And then abortion also reduces crime, for these low-income women usually are in bad neighborhoods or have private life situations that are unbearable. In a recent study, according to the study by author Stephen D. Levitt, legalized abortion has contributed significantly to the recent crime reductions. Around 18 years after abortion was legalized, crime rates began to drop abruptly. and crime rates dropped earlier and states that allowed abortion earlier because women who have abortions are those most at risk to give birth to children who would engage in criminal activity. And women who had control over the timing of childbearing were more likely to raise children in optimal environments. Crime is reduced when there is access to legal abortion.
So, in conclusion to the information that we've given, if the fetus or the baby was given the right as equal as to humans in the first trimester, all this wouldn't be available to women for women to have the abortions. If you want to take it in the aspect of the woman, the carrier being a murderer, say if the woman was already not in good health and if she was going to die from having the baby, would the baby, when it's born, be the cause of the murder of the mom, if the mother was to die? So it can be flipped back around either way. It can either be the mother making the decision that if she knows that the baby's going to come out with dysfunctions, or if she wants to make that decision to save her own life because she knows there's going to be accidents or something that's going to happen with the baby. It could be the same way. She can make that decision whether to take the baby's life, or would it be flipped around to where if she continued to have the baby and to have the baby born, would the baby be the murder of the mother?
Okay, so in response to Sarah's first argument that most people try not to identify with either side and wish to not be labeled, I think that, most of the decisions have been made by, since we're a democracy in America, we of course put things like abortion to a vote, and whenever they're voted on, abortion has been like shut down. And the Supreme Court has been like confused about whether they should be involved in this or not, but I think that they should not be involved in it because we're a democracy, and if we vote against abortion, do they really have the right to go against that and say that abortion should be legal?
The Supreme Court is only a small portion of people deciding the fate of millions. Who gives them the right to do that? We're a democracy. Also, Sarah, you talked about labels. These labels don't actually identify how people feel. That is what you said. The Martyrs Knights of Labor poll says that 60% of people believe that abortion is wrong. So if these labels don't identify how we truly feel, then the truth is that most people believe that abortion is wrong. Matt, you said that the 14th Amendment was meant to protect from persecution, but are we not persecuting the lives of the unborn? If ultrasounds are difficult for women, then why bother with the process of abortion at all? And if it's so pricey, why should the people have to pay taxes in order to support something they don't believe in? Sarah, you said that it is riskier to have an abortion later on than in the first trimester, but according to the British Medical Journal, abortion and continuing pregnancy are equally dangerous to the mother's health. You also said that the mother's health can be jeopardized by continuing the pregnancy, but abortions are in fact dangerous. In Chile, it's a third leading cause of death for women.
In response to Matt talking about the right to privacy of the mother, Roe v. Wade established that a woman has the right to privacy and therefore the choice to bear a child or not. But by creating the pregnancy in the first place, hasn't she already made that choice to bear the child?
So back to them talking about the 14th Amendment and what it states. So the 14th Amendment is supposed to just protect the actual people, but why could it not also be for the baby? If there's nothing else that would protect it in the first trimester, why would the 14th Amendment not also cover that? The 14th Amendment says that no person should be deprived of life, liberty, or of being able to have property without the due process of law. But if that's so profoundly stated, then isn't the mother depriving the child of a life by taking it in the first place? The Constitution also states that no person should be denied equal protection of the laws, yet a mother can decide whether or not she deems it right for the baby to be born or not. By doing that, the baby is denied equal protection of the laws because he is being killed before even gaining the chance to live or before he could choose his fate for himself.
This is in response to what Josie has just said about the mother making her choice about the baby. In not all cases, women have the choice. Sometimes there's rape or incest to which they have no choice, to where they get pregnant. So if they do have the baby and it is unwanted, it is even more dangerous to the baby when it's alive. So let's say like the baby grows up in an unwanted home to where no one really cares about it, and they don't take care of it, and then you just see it on the street. And then the mother didn't have an option there to where, because she was raped, so it wasn't her choice. So she became pregnant unwillingly, and then she had the baby, and now the baby is in a dangerous environment living throughout the world.
Even if she did have the baby and she gave the baby up for, say, adoption, that baby, say, if the baby grows up, it's in a lot of common scenarios where people want to find their roots, they want to find out who their parents are, where they came from. The baby finds out that it's a child of a rape victim. It's going to be a constant reminder if that child goes back and tries to reconnect with its mother. It's going to be a constant reminder of what the mother had to go through. Yes, maybe she did choose for the baby to live, but it's going to be, she's bringing it into the world. She doesn't want that reminder. Also, on the fact of who decides about abortion, is it right for a congressman or a governor or a president to decide what the woman should be able to choose about her abortion? We don't turn to politicians for advice about mammograms, prenatal care, or cancer treatments, and we shouldn't. Politicians don't belong in a woman's personal medical decisions about her pregnancy.
And then this is in response to how there's always this concern for the baby's welfare. And in abortions done prior to the 20 weeks marks, the baby will feel no pain as it is extracted from the carrier. Prior to this period, this is the safest time for the other, as well as the baby will undergo the abortion procedure. This way, no pain will be inflicted on the baby or the mother.
And also, over 90% of abortions in the United States are done within the first trimester, which is the safest time. If you were to give the fetus or the baby the rights from the Due Process Clause within the first trimester, it would be more endangered, and a lot of times, like before abortions were available, people were going and trying to extract the baby out from themselves, so they were doing self-inflicted abortions, literally using coat hangers, whatever they could, because abortions were illegal. When abortions were made available, 90% of abortions done in the U.S. are safe and are successful. It's also easier, safer, and less expensive to have an abortion within the first trimester.
This one's in response to Danielle talking about how taxpayers' money goes toward abortions. Abortion reduces welfare costs to taxpayers. The Congressional Budget Office, or CBO, a nonpartisan federal agency, evaluated a proposed anti-abortion bill that would ban all abortions nationwide after 20 weeks of pregnancy, and found that resulting in the additional births would increase the federal deficit by $225 million over 9 years. Due to the increased need for Medicaid coverage, also, since many women seeking late-term abortions are economically disadvantaged, their children are likely to require welfare assistance.
So,
Okay, now that completes that cycle. Now we can open it up for some questions here, if anyone has a question.
Hey, Sarah.
Okay, got one back here. Raul, if you want to get Alexis there.
You said that abortion wasn't right because it was harmful to the mother, but like there's a lot of more things that are harmful. You said it was a risk of sickness and death and like all that stuff, but people go skydiving. Like when you get in a car, you're risking your life all the time. When you go swimming, when you take a shower, like everything's harmful for people, and they choose to do it. Like it's up to them really. Like how do you feel about that? Like why shouldn't skydiving or going scuba diving be harmful? I mean, be illegal.
I feel like it has more to do with just harming the mother. It's not just about harming the mother. It's about harming someone else's life. Even though that mother chose to, she either chose, most times mothers choose to have sex and they choose to take that risk, right? Okay, so why should they have the right to harm someone else's life whose consent they didn't have? Okay, they can have a consent to go on all those like trips, like skydiving and all those dangerous things, but the life that they're also going to harm did not have that consent. That person, that living organism inside her womb did not have that choice. She or he did not take that risk.
Okay, what about the consent of other people? Like, what if someone hits you while you're driving the car? They didn't have your consent to. They didn't have their consent to hit you. Or like drunk drivers, they don't have the consent to get on the road. They don't have your consent to get on the road and hurt you.
Well, when drunk drivers go and they hit other people, they are punished. Why aren't women punished for harming those children?
Because it's their choice and it's their child.
But there's nothing that gives anyone a right to harm another innocent human being. Nothing. When people intentionally harm others, it's punishable. So why isn't it punishable for women to commit abortions, to harm someone else's life?
Any other questions? Does that mean you got a question, Crystal? It's okay. If you have a question, go ahead.
I have more to add to that. Can I add to?
Are you responding to Alexis?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, according to the Political Responsibility Center, women have trust dominion over born children as well as unborn children, which means that they're already responsible for the child, who has absolute dominion, meaning that they depend wholly on the mother. So that supports the argument that women who harm their 2-year-olds and women who harm their unborn children are committing the same kind of thing.
So in other words, if it's illegal to kill your 2-year-old child, why isn't it illegal to kill your unborn child?
Because you have a right.
If you have a question, you may raise your hand. If you have a question?
Well, I just want to say, because
If you have a question, you can raise your hand.
I don't have a question. State-
Yeah,
Can-
can I add to what Anna said?
Is it a question?
Yeah, like,
Okay, if it's a question, go ahead.
but I don't know how to ask it.
Yeah, I don't know how to ask mine.
They're questions. That's what we're polling for, not commentary. Questions. Alexis had a question.
So, yeah, what do you guys have to say about that? If it's not considered a human being until the 3rd trimester.
Okay, so it's not considered a human, yet they have human parents and they have human DNA. And the moment of conception, the moment that a sperm and egg come together, that fetus becomes a living organism that is able to grow and one day live by itself, independent from the mother. Only at the beginning of the 24th week can a fetus survive outside of the uterus. That is the life that will not have to depend on you anymore. Why should a mother have to decide for you in those first 24 weeks?
But that ties into one of our earlier arguments that the legal definition can be translated to protect the fetus as soon as it starts to develop, which is right away as soon as it's at contraception. So
Also, if you look on this paper here, I said the words embryo and fetus can only be defined as the early stages of human life. Therefore, the unborn are humans who deserve equal protection under due process.
Daniel, you had a question?
I know they're human beings and stuff like that, but why should someone be obligated to have something they don't want? I mean, we have a right, you know. we have
that's
rights.
where adoption comes in. If you don't want it, there are people who do.
Okay, and then we've got Bianca, you got a question?
Well, that like kind of tied into what I was going to kind of say. Like, why should you bring someone into the world when like you don't even feel like you're financially stable to like even take care of them? You're just gonna. Some parents just like don't know what they're doing and they kind of just leave their kid on the street, and that's like basically worse than not even giving them the life in general. Like, why would you want to do that to them?
Do you want to add anything? She kind of did a little dovetail off of what you
Yeah,
said.
it's just like what Josie said. It's like their adoption is always open. I think according to Statista.com, there's like 51 million families who are looking to adopt every year. So I think there is plenty enough of people who can adopt your unwanted child, and they will be supported financially because government pays you per child that you adopt. So.
Okay, and let's go back to Alexis, because everyone had one shot at one. Was there anyone else who had a question before we go to Alexis? Okay, Alexis.
I want to go back to you guys saying that if the fetus was a person and stuff. Okay, so let's say you have you keep saying 2-year-old. Let's say you have a 2-year-old. You're standing on a building, like a 14-foot building, whatever, and you have a fetus in your hand and a 2-year-old in your hand. Who would you let go? Like before the third trimester, who would you let go? And you have to choose.
I would not make that decision. I'd throw
You
myself.
have to make it.
I'm not going to make that decision because I would never kill another human being.
It's not a human being until the third trimester.
It's a human being if it has human parents and it has human DNA, and it's a living organism.
But that's your opinion. There's research and there's facts that it's not a human being until the third trimester.
Well, scientists say that it's not a human being, but those scientists are human beings with their own opinion, and who's to say that their opinion is right?
Past the third trimester.
Any other questions out there? No one has any questions for the opposition?
Well, going back to the adoption,
No, for the opposition.
I was just about the adoption thing.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and give them all a hand.